Welcome aboard the Ear to There podcast, the podcast that'll help you vacation like a pro in any Disney destination. For those of you standing, please sit down and hold on throughout our journey and get ready to learn how to have the time of your life. And now, here's your host, Phil Gramlich.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Ear to There podcast. I'm your host, Phil Gramlich. I am also the owner and operator of Ear to There Travel, which is a Disney-specialized travel agency. It is my job to take away the stress, all that anxiety, all that time that it takes to plan a Disney trip so you can focus on the fun things like having a great time with your family and friends and enjoying the magic. Oh, and I have to add that my services have always been and will always be 100% free of charge. You can find this podcast, my blog, or request a free, no-obligation quote over at eartotheretravel.com. This is episode number 52 for the week of January 23rd, 2017. Now, grab a drink, grab a snack, and as a famous mouse once said, on with the show. That day, for no particular reason, I decided to go for a little run. So I ran to the end of the road. And when I got there, I thought maybe I'd run to the end of town. And when I got there, I thought maybe I'd just run across Greenbow County. And I figured, since I run this far, maybe I'd just run across the great state of Alabama. And that's just what I did. I ran clear across Alabama. For no particular reason, I just kept on going. I ran clear to the ocean. And when I got there, I figured, since I'd gone this far, I might as well turn around, just keep on going. When I got to another ocean, I figured, since I'd gone this far, I might as well just turn back, keep right on going. So, you probably recognize that quote. And while running the Dopey Challenge or the Goofy Challenge isn't quite the same as Forrest running from coast to coast multiple times, it does kind of feel like it. You have to be a little crazy. You have to be a little, goofy or dopey to take part in any one of these races that Run Disney does each and every year. I don't care if it's a 5K, a 10K, a half marathon, a marathon, or a combination or all of the races. It takes a lot of guts. It takes a lot of courage to get started and to toe that start line at any of these Run Disney events. That's why this week I wanted to invite a bunch of folks from my online running group to talk about their experiences over Walt Disney World Marathon Weekend 2017. Here to talk about all of their individual experiences over the 2017 Walt Disney World Marathon Weekend is a group of runners and big-time Disney fans. I'm going to go ladies first. So, Chris Yancic, welcome back to the show.
Hey, wait a minute.
I'm kidding.
Ladies first.
I'm kidding. Chris, but thank you for coming back on. I really appreciate it.
Always good to see you, Phil.
I'm sorry I missed you last weekend. It was kind of crazy. Next up on the round table, this was actually her idea. So if this idea goes south really quickly, I can blame her for it. Christine Lim, welcome back. Or actually, your first time on. Welcome to the show.
Yes, it is the first time, but I've been listening to you for a while now, so I'm kind of far from you, so it's okay.
Yeah, right? Yeah, it's true. Yeah, sorry that you've been listening for a while, too. That's actually... It's funny. All of a sudden, I'm getting, more downloads than I've ever had. It's crazy. I'm starting to... Actually, people are starting to know who I am. It's kind of cool. All right, so now it's... This is actually a fun one. Now it's time to introduce someone who's joining all the way from Canada. And as Yeehaw Bob Jackson would say, that's in Europe. Heather Lassell, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Thank you for being on. How are you feeling?
I'm almost recovered.
Right.
I still have the Disney plague, but...
I know. So many people got sick after this past weekend. Or last weekend, it was nuts. All right, so, and coming to us all the way from the West Coast, I guess it's the coast, right? Near Seattle, Washington. Melanie Redding, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm from Tampa.
Geez, I said that wrong. Since too many people, I know I was going to get it wrong.
Phil. The West Coast of Florida.
The West Coast of Florida, Melanie.
Florida.
I am sorry. Suzanne Holland from Seattle, Washington, welcome to the show. Sorry about that, guys.
Hi.
And who I thought was from Florida, but is actually from Charlotte, North Carolina. Last but not least, Jim Martin, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, thank you guys for being here. I'm sorry I got that messed up. I knew I was going to. There was no chance I was getting all those right. So anyway, guys, thank you all for being on. This is really cool to have this many people. And well, actually, we'll see. It's going to either be really cool or a mess, and I'm never going to do it again. But thank you guys all for being on.
No problem.
All right, so I want to get a little bit of background before we go into I don't want to say mess that was the 2017 marathon weekend, but it was interesting to say the least. We can go kind of in the order that I kind of introduced you guys. How many races have you guys done, and why run Disney? Was it Disney first that got you introduced to it, or was it running first that got you introduced to the whole Run Disney thing? Chris, you mind going first? Then we'll go through the line.
This was going to be my 5th consecutive Disney Marathon weekend. I've done the half just twice. I've done Dopey twice, and this was going to be my 3rd half. Oh, and then there was a year with the full. Plus, I've done a couple of the other races here and there. And I've always been interested in Disney, but I started running, and then I did Run Disney.
And yeah, so as you can hear from your voice, it's very disappointed. It's like it was supposed to be, but we'll get to that in a little bit as why it was, what exactly happened. Then, Christine, so how about you? Were you always into Disney? Did you get into Disney because of running, or the other way around?
It was kind of both. My husband works for Disney, so he was the one who got me into running. My very first Disney race event was the 2012 Disneyland Half Marathon. So I just got hooked because it was so fun. You see people of all shapes and sizes and all kinds of pacing. It's not just the stereotypical, distance running event. So we came to Florida and did the first marathon in 2013. And, as soon as I finished the race, I said I was never doing it again. But the next morning, we're planning to make January our annual vacation.
I know.
So, yeah. So we've been coming to Florida in January for Marathon Weekend since 2013. And this past weekend was to be my, 4th Dopey. So, yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, that's kind of how it worked with me. I was into Disney. I'm a former cast member. My first Disney race was 2012. My first ever race was the half in Walt Disney World in 2012, and then I signed up for Goofy the following year. Or no, I'm sorry, in 2014, because my wife had our twins in 2012, late 2012. But yeah, that's what it is for us now. It's our annual trip. We do it January every year. Not to say I race every year, although I plan to, but something always happens.
You have the worst luck, Phil.
I know. You know what it is? I'm not signing up for Goofy anymore. Just Dopey from here on out. Because 2 of the last 3 years, I signed up for Goofy. 1 year, I got the flu, and I didn't leave my room the whole weekend. And this past year, I had a broken rib about 7 weeks out, and I never really recovered from it. So, but last year for 2016. I signed up for Dopey and was perfectly fine. Didn't miss a race. So yeah. So this year, 2018. Spoiler alert. I'm going Dopey again. Heather. Was this your first? This wasn't your first Run Disney race, right? But it was your first marathon this year.
Yes, it was my first marathon and last and only marathon. It was my 6th Run Disney race.
Okay. And were you always a Disney fan, or did you get into Disney because of the running?
Well, I mean, my parents took us to Disney. The last time, like when I went with my parents I was 16, I think. And then it was almost a good 18 years until I went again with my own children. My oldest was 15. But as soon as I went that first time with the kids, I think that was October of 2012. And I've probably gone like 10 or 11 times since then. So I'm making up for all those years that I didn't go. But I met my very best friend, Melissa, from that first trip. Everyone meets on the Disboards and makes their going in October month. We just ended up moving it to Facebook, and we became such good friends. And I started running because she told me I had to. So,
yeah, that's kind of how it goes too. Somebody's like, "All right, well, I'm running this race. You're signing up. You have to do it with me." And,
yeah, basically.
Yeah, right. And all the way from Tampa, Florida, the west coast of Tampa. Melanie, how about you?
Growing up in Tampa, obviously I grew up practically at Disney. I worked there for 8.5 years. That's what got me interested in running Disney. I think my first race at Disney was, I believe, the Race for the Taste 10K, when the Wine and Dine used to be a 10K. And I think it was in 2001, I believe. So that was my first run Disney race.
And wasn't a spatula, was it, that they were giving away for that one?
It was not. It was trust me, their medals used to be a lot less elaborate than they are now.
Yeah. Way
back in the day. So they've come a long way since 2001.
And then Jim, you've been doing, I don't know how many dopies that you've done. You've done a handful though, right?
No, this is only my second dopey.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, I took up running only, my first race was Princess 2015.
Oh, wow. That's so cool. And was it for you? Was it you were into Disney and then the running thing kind of just happened?
Yeah, my wife got me into Disney when we had our daughter. And then she wanted to do some races. She wanted to start running. So friends told her about the Princess and how it was runner friendly and good to do. So we signed up for it as a goal together, and we ran that one together, and we just started doing more and more Run Disney.
Yeah, I just looking at you guys, like I look at the pictures on the Facebook page, and everybody has so many more medals than I do. I'm jealous. Because I've had such little kids. It's like I go once or twice a year for the races. I got to start upping my game as far as that goes. I need to sign up for it. I haven't done a California race yet, believe it or not. I have to sign up for something out there.
You definitely need to go coast to coast, Phil.
I know. I was thinking
next year Kessel Run.
Yeah, maybe we'll do that. All right, so
do Avengers.
Yeah. Oh man, I really want to do Avengers. You're right. All right, guys. So just now, I'm not going to call in. It's not grade school. You guys can kind of yell out and just decide who's going to answer what when. So, for something like this, for this kind of, especially for the dopey or the goofy or the marathoner, really for any of the events, you really have to train them. You have to train your, off to get there. How did your training go? Did you guys have, training plans, specific training plans that you stick to? Are you guys Galloway runners, or do you stick to the Hal Higdon plans? What do you guys do?
This is Melanie. Actually, I'm the Tampa Galloway program director, so I would say I 100% stick to Galloway, and I was a Galloway pacer. So if you want to run Disney, I would recommend Galloway 100%.
What was that like being that you were a pacer for the marathon, right? Right.
For a 7-hour group, and let me tell you, that is some pressure and some nervous people.
I can't imagine.
The furthest away we were ever at any point in the race from the balloon ladies was 4 minutes ahead of them.
Oh man!
So we got as close to 2 minutes ahead of them. So it was a bunch of nervous runners that I was with.
And how many people would you say that you were with, like on average?
Well, it obviously varied greatly. I probably started with 50. Probably at one time I might have been running with over 100. We picked up a lot of people on the way. Probably lost a lot of people. We picked up, a lot of stragglers that had started early and either got injured or just weren't properly trained. We had a lot of people in our group that had actually signed up for the half that was canceled and transferred to the full, had never run more than 13 miles, and they managed to stick with us. But the entire time we were getting warned, the balloon ladies are this far behind you. The balloon ladies are this far behind you. So it was a completely different experience than running it where I normally run it. So
yeah, and for anybody who doesn't know, who's listening, the balloon ladies are the scary part of the races. They're the ones that so if they catch up to you, if they pass you, then you're going to get swept and picked up by the Disney bus and taken to the finish. And it's something. And
all the crazy ones.
Yeah.
All the crazy ones. We find out their names and we track them so that we know how far behind us they are.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Because that's what we did during the marathon. We kept checking it. We were like, okay, we crossed the 5 mile mat. And then we would wait for it to ding and tell us when the balloon ladies crossed it. So we knew how far ahead of them that we were. It's scary. It's terrifying.
No, it is. And it sounds funny to people who haven't run. Like, we're listening to this, like, what do you mean? Like, but it is. Because I remember seeing them during Star Wars last year. One of those out and back parts of the course. And I was in a lake corral last year, and I came around the corner, and I was going. I don't know where we were going, and I saw them, and that panic hits you. You're just, oh my god, you gotta get moving. You're like, I start running. I'm not ready to run. Yeah, it is a scary thing for people. So how about, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say during the marathon at one point, there was like a Ziploc bag or something on the ground, and this lady, when she stepped on it, it popped like a balloon. You should have seen everyone's heads turning. They're like, "What was that?" And this one lady's like, "The balloon ladies." Oh, it was terrible.
Yeah, there is no fear like a Run Disney runner has for the balloon ladies. That's true.
Yeah, just imagine running the whole 26 miles knowing that they're like 3 minutes behind you.
Oh man, I can't. I was so bummed that I couldn't run the full this year. I made the decision, like I was going to do the half and use it as kind of a barometer of how my ribs felt. And then when that happened, I couldn't. My wife would have killed me. She was, until that night, I think 9 o'clock at night or so, I was back and forth. I think I put up on our Facebook page that I wasn't doing it. And then around 9 o'clock that night, I was like, I think I can do it. And she said, "I will literally murder you and never, or never speak to you again." So how about everybody else? Your training? Do you guys have something that you're dedicated to each and every race, or do you kind of wing it?
Well, this is Christine here. I've used the Galloway training method from the very beginning, and I've always been athletic growing up, but I'm more of a sprinter than a distance runner. So, and I would never consider myself a distance runner. And so Galloway's training method, or his method of running, the run, walk, run method, is what has gotten me to finish the distances that I've run. So yeah, totally stick with that. And then, so this last time around, I actually stuck to this training program that he puts up on the Run Disney website and pretty much followed it. So.
I love that you say, I'm not really, don't consider myself a distance runner, and here you are doing like 20 dopies in a row. But you're still not a distance
runner. But going back to the balloon ladies, it's like, I think 2014, I think that was the year I had the most trouble. When I saw them at ESPN, I literally cried. So, yeah, they strike fear in you.
Yeah, it's so weird.
There was one year, I think it was my first marathon down at Disney for the 20th anniversary. I'm running, and I get to mile 26, and I'm not doing too well. A blister popped or something, and someone I don't know comes up to me and says, "Okay, we're going to finish this together. Just 0.2 miles. I'll stick with you, whatever." I'm like, okay. And then all of a sudden, we hear from behind us, "They're coming!" And at this point of the course, it's a lot of stragglers. It's towards the end, but there's this big wave of humanity just coming at you like people from The Walking Dead, and these 3 little balloons in the back of it, and she just takes off and runs, and that's the balloon ladies are fun.
Yeah, it's like save yourself. They call them. Forget
every runner for themselves.
Yeah, really, it's so funny how that happens. I was lucky enough to be an this, and again, I didn't get to run, but I didn't even submit a proof of time. I don't know how that happened. If people don't know the corrals go, what was it? A through what this past year? Do you guys know?
P.
I know, I was in P.
Yeah. Oh, right. So that makes sense. So I'm bummed because I don't know. I wasn't exactly trained well before my broken rib. So, yeah, it was probably better off for me not to do it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so let's get on to the races themselves, okay, right? So, for the dopies, you guys that did the 5K, the weather, I think, was still pretty nice then, right? The first race, the 5K and the 10K, actually?
Yep.
Yeah, 5K and 10K weather's good.
That's because I wasn't there yet.
Yeah.
You brought the weather, Heather.
I'm so sorry. That was way colder than I wanted.
She brought the weather down, this weather system from Arctic Canada.
Exactly.
Yeah, like I remember being in a park with my kids those days and seeing everybody with their medals, and I was like, it was what, like in a probably mid-70s, something like that, sunny, nice. And then, I mean, did your races go well? Were you uncomfortable? The Disney, I don't know anything about those two. Did Disney put on
I
a good
think-
race?
Yeah, and weather-wise, it was good. And I thought, I mean, the 5K and the 10K, we were mostly doing it for fun, just goofing around, like all those photos that you saw, and thanks to Jim and his fast passes. So yeah, the 5K and 10K were just like any old typical Disney races.
And then
Yeah,
came,
where you don't run for time.
yeah, they're the
No.
really fun ones where you get to just kind of, goof off and get pictures and wait and not have to worry about your time because you're on. They don't. Do they go out onto the roads at all? I don't remember. They don't. Right? They're mostly in the parks. the
No,
entire
just
time.
the parking lot.
Right. So you don't have to. They don't have to worry about your time or anything like that. And
I
It's
think
nice.
The 10K, we might have a couple miles on the highway.
okay.
The 10K does, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I don't remember from last year. To be honest with you, last year doing Dopey for me is kind of a blur. I don't remember a whole lot of it. I just remember getting my medals at the end and looking at my finish line picture from the marathon, and I just looked so aggravated. There's no happiness. There's nothing there. It's just like, all right, thank God this is over. And now, but you guys are right. Like, I don't know who it was that said, this was it, one and done. And then you're like, all right, I'm going to sign up. Because you get hooked. You get hooked. I mean, crossing that finish line is like the greatest feeling. And then you tell yourself you're bleeding, you're in pain, and you're for a week, no, I'm not going to do it. And then you're like, okay, let's sign up for the next one. It's the weirdest thing.
You have to sign up for another race first to get that good corral.
I know. I know.
And one outside of Disney.
Yeah, like I'm signed up. I don't know if you guys who signed up for a race now. I know we had the Disneyland Star Wars light side last week. Are you guys signed up? I know a couple of you signed up for Dark Side.
I'm running Tinkerbell and Dumbo and Adventure 10K and Dopey.
Princess.
Oh, and Wine and Dine. Sorry, forgot. Oh, Princess.
Princess.
Yes, Princess.
Oh my God, you guys are signed up for everything.
Paris.
Disneyland's next for me.
Yeah,
Yeah, me too.
that's I gotta sign up. I gotta figure that
I haven't
out.
signed up yet.
I gotta figure that out. All right, so then after the 10K, we had everybody was watching the weather because the I guess the thunderstorms, the cold was coming through. And I know a bunch of people were together. A bunch of you guys were together waiting for the news. I was with my kids in our hotel room, just gonna hunker down, just watching Twitter and watching all everybody's Facebook feed, trying to figure out what was gonna happen. And it was a bummer that it got canceled, but I thought it was really cool what Disney did. I wasn't expecting them to offer the options that they offered for everybody who was signed up for the half, who wasn't going to get to do it. What did you guys think? I mean, I thought it was such a bummer not to run it, but I'll tell you what, at around, I don't know what time they announced it, but I did go into my fridge in my hotel and grab a beer as soon as they said it wasn't going on. So I was like, well, I might as well have a couple beers now.
We were all at Ohana.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
We
That
guys
was
had
at my hotel.
our racing meal.
Oh, right. It was the night before the half meal, and then
Yeah.
So
I think a lot of us kind of had an idea it was coming because Run Disney had been sending out tweets for over 24 hours. We're carefully monitoring, there's extreme weather expected. We're concerned about the safety of our runners and our volunteers. And then next weather update at this time, next weather update at this time. And then at 7:00 is when they finally pulled the trigger.
yeah, and I remember all the signs started coming in on Twitter and on
Yeah.
Facebook. Like people were like,
Oh,
this,
it was fast.
yeah, it was like this sign is in my lobby, this sign is in the lobby, and that kind of tipped it off to me that it wasn't going to happen. But
Mhm.
I thought they did a great job of giving you a lot of options. Let me see if I have it on my screen. Oh no, I closed it. So I know they offered a refund if you wanted the refund, right? They offered
They offered a gift card, not a refund.
Oh, I'm sorry, the gift card, right.
Yep.
I mean, it is Disney after all, still.
Yes.
Which we all know and love because I sell Disney, so I can't mouth it too bad. But I will be honest. So they offered the gift card. It was $180. I think you got back.
On beta, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's good. They offered that you could switch to another half somewhere along the in the future, and then they had the running that I think Christine mentioned it. The people that, or no, I'm sorry, was it Melanie that you mentioned it? The you could run the full, even though you weren't trained for the full, which I thought was kind of crazy.
Most people went into it thinking they were going to just quit at 13, but I had several people in my group that had never run more than 13 miles that stuck with us, and they were literally in tears at the finish line.
I guess so. I can't imagine training for 13 and doing 26.2. That blows me away. But
that's what Norman did, right, Christine?
Yes. My husband actually signed up for the half. And at first I was thinking, well, you're going to get a gift card or you're going to defer. But he surprised me and was saying, I came here to run. So I'm going to run. So he did. And he ran with me and finished.
That's awesome.
Had he done a marathon before, Christine, or was that his first one?
Yes.
Okay.
This is his second marathon. He didn't train, I have to be honest, but he's generally in good shape and pretty fit. So.
I just can't, that astounds me that people could do that. I'd be terrified if I hadn't trained for it, but that's awesome. There's something about the marathon that makes it's completely different than anything else. It's like the half. I thought when I did it, my first half, I was like, all right, I'll never run another one of these again. I'm done. And then when I had the idea to do the full, I was like, well, but my first full was a goofy, which was probably really dumb and stupid to do it that way. But I did it.
I did dopey.
Did you really your first time? That's awesome.
My first full was dopey.
Nice.
Yeah, we knew you were goofy and you were dopey. So.
See, that's it takes a lot of guts to do that. Like I remember sitting in an ice bath after the half for my first goofy and being like, I don't know if I can line up tomorrow, but I did. I got through it. So then, all right. So, where are we going here? So all right. So the half marathon being canceled kind of stunk, and everyone's kind of disappointed about it. But then came the news that the full was going to actually happen. And it was, what was it at the start? I mean, I remember looking at your pictures, guys, and I was like...
It was like 27.
That's insane.
I was
That's
crying.
like July for Heather.
No, it was so cold. I was like, this is not right. I'm like, why can't they just... I said it at Ohana. I'm like, well, it's going to be too cold. Why don't they just cancel the full? And our race leader, Liz, was like, Heather! I'm like, from across the room. I guess I said it too loud.
Yeah, you can't say that around her.
No.
But, so, did you guys have layers? Did you go out to the store? Did you take an Uber to, Target to get more layers? Like, how did you guys handle that? Because I know you can't.
I went to Walmart and got a sweatshirt.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of have.
But
to,
I still wore shorts.
Did you really? Even in the before the race, you had nothing to. Wow. Yeah, I couldn't.
Well,
do that.
my husband, when he went to the expo to select the option to upgrade for the full marathon, he bought himself a pair of long tights. So so I think we have been doing a lot of weather watch. I'm sure all the runners did leading up to the race weekend. So we kind of saw in the weather that there was going to be a storm coming. Temperature was going to be kind of low. So I think we all bought what we thought were enough layers, but it was still definitely not enough. So like for me,
the wind, it was the wind that made it
for Vanessa
worse.
Bringing me her extra my pajama bottoms, which I wore over my own skirts and kept on for a couple of miles, and her son's sweater hoodie that had a hood, so it kept my head warm for the first couple of miles. And it was crazy.
When you guys got moving, did you even out a bit, or was it that cold?
No.
The
wind got worse an hour into it. I kept my throwaway sweater on for the first half of the full.
Yeah, I remember looking at the weather when I woke up, and I woke up, I think 6:37 that morning, and I had to admit, like full disclosure, I was like, yeah, I'm really glad I didn't do it. I'll lose the money and blame it on the broken rib. But it's actually still broken. I'm still getting out of bed hurts. Like, I was going to say a word that I shouldn't say on my podcast, but it really hurts getting out of bed. So I'm glad actually I decided not to do it. But yeah, I actually got to go out and cheer for a while, and I know you guys, a bunch of you guys have done that. It was freezing just standing there watching you guys go by. And that's
some of the people that cheered didn't get out early enough.
No,
they missed some of us.
Oh,
yeah, maybe.
You were too fast, Jim.
Yeah, Jim,
Speedy.
You're a very fast runner, my friend. And I was out cheering in front of Bay Lake Towers, and I saw a few people then, and then I had to check out of my room and make it all the way over to Yacht Club to meet everybody else, and you just have to stop getting PRs.
And
yeah,
Chris,
you got to hand it to the people who cheer, because if we were cold and we were running, can you imagine what they're doing just standing around, even though they're waving and cheering? It must be freezing for them.
Yeah, and I was thinking of the people at the water stops who were handing the water, because the water is spilling on
volunteers.
Yeah, and the poor volunteers, the water spilling on their hands left and right when it's 20 degrees, 30 degrees, and man, they're better people than I am. I consider myself a decent person, but I think I'd be sick that morning if it were me. I don't know if I could do it. It's awesome of those volunteers to get out there, especially on a day like that, and get out there and and cheer and do it. It always. Well, actually, I shouldn't say it always. It barely surprises me ever when when you get off the bus and you walk to the corrals, and those the cast members have more energy than anybody. Like everybody else, you're waiting for the coffee to get in you. You're walking to the corrals. You're walking to the staging area, and those cast members they're up, they're energized, they're excited. I don't know how they do it. It's really remarkable how they do that.
Totally agree.
So let me see. I'm looking at my list here. So you guys, here's a weird question, but see if we can answer it. What makes you want to do this again? And I know it sounds weird because I'm in the same boat. I want to do it to myself, no matter what the weather is. I've run in half marathons when it's in the 30s and it's raining and it's miserable and snowing. But why why put yourself through it? Is it the medals? Is it the experience? Is it doing it with friends? What is it that makes you? Is it the parks? What is it that makes you put yourself through the pain and the really the misery in doing one of these races?
It's multifaceted, and of course, for me personally, when I first started, it was more of a self-challenge to see how far I can push myself, whether I can keep doing it. But when you get to the very bottom of it too, is the friendship that I've gained along the way. Like I call everybody here, on this panel today, my friends, and some I've known longer than others. But the one of the reasons that I said let's do this podcast was this weekend. I think it really brought out something that matters the most. I think it's the love, the friendship, the support of this whole, not just our small running group, but the whole running community. So like on Saturday morning, the morning of the cancel half, when people said we're going to go out there and do the 13.1 on our own, there are enough people who aren't running it, who were volunteering to be like at the boardwalk, just to cheer on their friends or even people that they don't know, to be the character stops, so to speak, to give some of that racing atmosphere back. And when I was running at Poly, I saw a lot of cast members just totally cheering runners, going on, getting their 13.1 in on their own. So that's a big part of it. And I think another part for me is what Disney did this past weekend was very surprising. I mean, and very generous. They didn't have to do it because we all signed a waiver. We all knew going in that it's non-refundable, non-transferable. And when they canceled the race, I know a lot of us were very disappointed. And I know some of us cried because it's like we trained so hard to do this, and yet you're so close, the night before the race, it gets canceled. But Disney is canceling it, not just, for us, but they take into account the safety of the volunteers and maybe the city workers, the police, transportation folks, or whoever. So I think this whole weekend, even though it was difficult, it made it more unique and rewarding as well. I don't know if I'm making sense.
No, it's perfect sense. And I kind of had a little moment like that too. I went out to get coffee in the morning, the day of the half, the canceled half, and I was staying at Boardwalk, and there were runners out, that early, 7:00 in the morning. Earlier than that, really. I mean, I think there were some people in this group that were out at, 5:00 in the morning running.
Yeah,
4 a.m.
Yeah, 4. Yeah, and there were people cheering on the boardwalk, on the outside, leaning out of the rooms off their balconies, cheering for the runners. I walked past ESPN a little later, ESPN Club, and or is it Zone? What is it there? Club Zone? Anybody know?
I think it's Zone.
Okay,
Yeah.
we're gonna go with
Yeah, I
Zone.
think it's Zone.
We're gonna go with Zone. I walked past there, and there was actual cast members from ESPN with trays of water outside with little water cups, handing them to runners as they came by, cheering. And they didn't have to do that. It's just really cool to see.
exactly.
That you're right. Like Christine, you were right about it. Brought everyone together, and it was this cool thing to see. So, I was really impressed with that. I could see the runners from my balcony. And I was showing my wife, I was like, look at this. Like, these guys are out. It's raining. It's miserable. It's like that boardwalk is slippery. You got to be really careful. And I saw, during the races last year, during the half, I think, I saw a bunch of people fall because it was slippery, a bunch of runners. And, people were out there getting their miles in, and it was cool. That's why I liked when I saw people wearing their half medals in the park. I saw a few people, and I was like, yeah, darn right you should be wearing that. If you went out and did that race this morning on your own, that's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else, can you, let me know why you're putting yourself through these horrible experiences time and time again?
For the horrible marathon experience, I did it because I wanted to ride a ride in the middle of the run or near the end of the run. So I actually had booked a fast pass for the Tower of Terror at 10 o'clock.
Wow.
So I had my goal of making it to the Tower of Terror by 10.
And you did?
Yes, I was too early. The cast member was nice and let us in a little early.
Oh, that's cool.
My wife met me. My wife met me outside the entrance.
Yeah, so I know a lot of people do Expedition Everest in the middle of the race because it's open and the cast members, it's a little further. No, it's earlier than that.
Just halfway.
Yeah, it's earlier than that. So that's really cool. I don't know if I had ever seen it. Were there other runners doing it with you, or were you kind of one of the only ones?
There were a couple other runners in there.
And you'd probably have to fight through a little bit of a crowd, right? I mean, the crowds are tough. Like, I was there, I was in Epcot full marathon day, and as the runners were still coming through. And it's tough being a regular guest those days. So is it tough, getting yourself in and out of the queue and the fast pass queue?
It wasn't bad. The line wasn't that bad at that time because I think it was around 9:45. So the park was only open for about an hour. The line wasn't too bad. It took about 15 minutes.
It's so cool. You get to ride Tower of Terror in the middle of a marathon. Not too many people can say that. It's very,
And
very
still
cool.
PR.
And still PR.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Chris, you came.
It's still PR.
You came down, and it was the ultimate bummer for you, right? Were you only signed up? That's ridiculous to say that. But
Yeah.
you were signed up for the half, and that's it, right? So
Yeah, I because of my vacations last year, I had to watch my vacation days, so I cut down my trip this year. I didn't do the 10K like I had the last few years. I just did the half, or was planning on just doing the half. And so the fact that it was canceled was a little bit disappointing, although I think definitely Run Disney made the right call, because I was staying at Bay Lake Towers, which is right on the race course. And starting around 11:30 at night, the sky just opened up. There was lightning everywhere, and when I woke up at 7 a.m., 7:30, when runners still would have been passing by on the course, there was still lightning everywhere. So, Run Disney definitely made the right call, and I wasn't super disappointed because I had done it before, and because I knew I was going to California the next weekend to run Rebel Challenge.
Yeah, right.
So, I was sad, but at the same time, I ran in the pouring rain in Splash and Dash in 2000. What was that? 14. And so I was kind of glad I didn't have to do it again. But we had a good time. It was great seeing everybody, and it was, except for Jim, and it was definitely great cheering. Cheering a marathon is an amazing experience. I was there for probably a good 4 hours. I got to see so many of my friends. I got to see Heather at the end of her first marathon. It was just great seeing everybody following Melanie at the 7-mile mark, seeing how close they were, in front of the balloon ladies, seeing all the costumes, all the people just enjoying it and living it and having a great time.
Yeah. So Heather, we mentioned it was your first full. You said you're never doing one again. Have you?
Mm-mm.
But you were sick, and you're just still getting over being sick. So that hasn't, not even a minute. So since you've done it, has that entered your mind? Like, maybe I'll do another one.
No,
No?
not even a little bit. I think I prefer to stick with half. Once I hit mile 17, I was like, what the hell did you do?
Oh yeah, I know that feeling.
23, I wanted to die. I was like, can I just go lay in a ditch? Like, I'm good. But I'm like, no, because now I didn't make it to 23 to not make it to the end.
Exactly.
So yeah. So seeing Chris holding his Canadian flag,
Yeah,
I had to get there.
I saw the pictures of that. That was very cool. Yeah, I think I just have a feeling that maybe someday you're going to say to yourself, it wasn't that bad. You get that, you get that, you forget, your body forgets like how painful it actually was.
You're like comparing it to childbirth.
It is like childbirth. I think it's the closest
you
men
forget
can get.
the pain and you're like, oh, I could do that again. That wasn't so bad. And then
right.
you do it and you're like, oh my God.
You know what's funny about
What
that?
did I do?
You know what's funny about that? My wife did not forget. She had our oldest daughter, and then she was pregnant with our twins. And when they said she was having a C-section, she like could have thrown a party right there, man. It was like the most exciting thing. Yeah, I was there for the first birth, and the second one I was there, but I was like behind the curtain, like the Wizard of Oz. So I didn't see what happened. But the C-section, they just kind of hand you your children. It's actually kind of cool.
So then the comparative would be, I'll sign up for a full, but once I get to the halfway mark, someone gives me like a Segway to ride to the finish line.
Or they pull you on a rickshaw the rest of the way.
Like, yeah, anything where I don't have to actually run the second half of it.
Maybe a bicycle.
Yeah,
They need to
piggyback.
bring back Chip and Dale, the relay.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
There we go.
They only did that 1 year, right? I think it was 2012, and that was that.
Yep.
So, all right. So I already said what's in the future, you guys. You guys are all signed up for. I think, did everybody say they were signed up for a Disney race coming up, or no?
I haven't signed up yet, but I want to sign up for the Disneyland Double Dare, and so I can do the coast to coast.
Yeah, I think that's.
Yay. I just want to see you again.
I know. I can't wait to see you.
Yeah, I think that's going to be that's one that I have to do. Like I said, I'm signed up for Dark Side. I'm going to be. That's a quote unquote work trip for me, so I'll be down by myself. So I'm going to try to get to all the group things that are happening that weekend. And then Dopey next year for me, definitely. I think I can't mess around with Goofy anymore. I'm either sick or I break something whenever. Goofy.
And is it the anniversary? Is it an anniversary for Dopey next year or something?
5, isn't it?
It is.
Yes.
See, Heather's already thinking about it.
No, I am not. I was just bringing it up.
Yeah, so it's the 5th.
I think she did the early registration.
Yeah, right. So it's the 5th. It's the 5th Dopey coming up. I should know this, but I don't.
5th Dopey, 25th marathon.
Wow. Yeah, and it was something like how many? I really should research these before I do them. What was does anybody know off the top of their head how many people ran in the first marathon that Disney put out. It was like, it was a super low number. I remember reading it before.
Yeah.
And now it's up to how many thousand this year were signed up? Like in the tens of thousands.
Close to 20.
Yeah, I hear somebody typing away on their computer over there.
I want to say 20 to 25.
Somebody's Googling it right now.
I think about 18,000 ran it.
Wow. Yeah, it is one of those races, right, that you have to kind of keep that in mind when you do it, that especially for the first few miles, you're going to be elbow to elbow with everyone. And if you're, I've run other races that aren't like that. And if you're someone it can freak you out a little bit if you're a little claustrophobic in the beginning, because, and there's those people that get really super angry. Like I do the Galloway plan as well. Usually I start that way and then I kind of finish all over the place. If you guys know what I mean, like I'll start like doing, 3-minute run, 1-minute walk. And then by the end of the marathon, I'm just walk when I can, run when I can, just try to get across the finish line. But there are people who do it who are, obviously competitive, super intense. So I think that can scare you a little bit in the beginning, but it shouldn't. They are events that I think everyone can do. As long as you put in a training for it, it's something that, it's worth it. It's fun, and anyone can do one of these races as long as you train.
Yeah.
You know
I mean, I'm a big guy. If I can drag myself across one of these finish lines, anybody can put in the time and effort and do it.
Yeah, you're racking up dopies, man. I mean, I want to do dopey next year. We'll see. Those 4 mornings, that's the one thing. The 4 mornings in a row are a lot.
Rough.
Yeah.
It's rough. And the training is rough. I mean, The training for dopey is some of the toughest things I've ever done.
Yeah.
And then the one year when I did dopey and then I flew out and did all 3 races of the Rebel Challenge next weekend, that was stupid.
How did you hold your head up after that? Like, I don't even understand. Last year, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I tried wearing all the medals at once, and it just didn't work.
Yeah. I last year after dopey, I fell asleep at like 9:00 every night, and we had like 6 nights left on our trip. So my wife wanted to kill me every single night because we're in Epcot while waiting for Illumination to start, and I'm asleep sitting on a chair with my kids climbing all over me. I mean, it just didn't. But again, that's what you do. I'm signing up again. You guys are signing up again. I'm excited. So,
have you told Amy you're signing up again?
Surprise!
She doesn't listen to the podcast, so she doesn't know. I know, right? I'm like, this is like my 52nd episode. Then I have, I don't know, 25, 26 Word of the Week episodes. I think she's listened to like 3. So I don't have to worry about it until I book the flights.
You need to have her as a guest, Phil.
I've had her on this one. She came on for we did the top one of the, you guys know I'm a rip-off artist. I rip off everybody else's podcast. It was like the guide for bringing young children to Walt Disney World, and she was on, and she sounded like she was in a wind tunnel because she couldn't figure out how to use Skype on her phone. So she was the one that was on. I had to call on her actual cell phone. But
couldn't you have just recorded it in the same place?
Well, we could have, but my daughter was sick, so I recorded it.
Okay.
Yeah, it was. Just don't listen to that one. Is all I'm saying. All right, well, guys. Well, thank you everyone for recording. This is very fun. I'm sorry if I left some of you guys out. During I was just trying to bounce around. So. Thank you guys all for coming on and for recording, and I'm looking forward to the next couple of races. I'm looking forward to the dark side for whatever one you guys will be there to kind of. I haven't gotten to hang out much the last couple of races, so I'm looking forward to it. So thank you guys again.
Princess, if anyone's doing Princess, I'm pacing 3:15.
Okay, I'll be there. I'll see you on
Yay!
Yay!
Wait, so really quickly before we stop, I've heard Princess gets a little bit crazy. Is that true? It's a little with a little bit
very crazy.
Yeah.
Really,
it's is turned up full notch.
Is it because it's majority? Not to be sexist here, but it's the majority of women doing it.
Yes, it's because it's mostly girls and a lot of them are not really trained like they should be, and they all want the princess treatment.
Well, yeah,
So
I've seen
gets
it.
a little diva.
Yeah, I've seen like on message boards and on the Facebook pages, and that's a scary one to run. So I think I'll be avoiding that one. You know what? This is how dumb I am. Until like last year, I didn't even know guys could run it. I'm not that bright. I thought it was primarily just only a girls' race.
They can run. I don't think they can place. They can't I don't think that the guys can place.
They can. They can't be in corral A.
They can't be in
Okay.
crowd.
So they still have the gender divisions, but they can't start in corral A.
Oh, well, I'll forget about it. If I can't start in corral A, then I'm not doing it. There's no way.
No way.
Yeah,
So they
for
can't be the
Tinkerbell,
overall
I think
winner.
the guys starting corral B.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. All right. Well, I don't want to put down the princess race, but I've heard that it's kind of a different experience altogether when you're.
It is definitely is.
Yeah, when you're running. Okay. All right. Well, guys, thanks again. I appreciate it. We got to do another one of these when we, after the next race, or hopefully there won't be canceled races after the next couple weekends. But thank you guys, and thank you for doing it. I appreciate it, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks.
All right, bye.
Bye, Phil.
Bye.
And that is going to do it for this week's episode of the Ear to There podcast. Thank you again so much to everyone who jumped on the call, all of my running friends that came on the call today. I apologize if I couldn't keep everyone's voices straight. There's a lot of people on this one. It was hard to kind of go back and forth, so hopefully I did a decent job of that. And I hope we didn't scare you, the listener, away from running or from participating in any Run Disney event. We were trying to do exactly the opposite of that. We were trying to just let you know how amazing and how satisfying training for and running in a Run Disney event actually is. So I hope if you were on the fence about running in a Run Disney event, that this episode was a little push that you needed to get you signed up. And I hope that I see you at the next Run Disney event. I will be there. I will be at the Star Wars Dark Side Half Marathon this April, so I hope to see you there. As always, thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, just like I hope you enjoy each and every episode that I put out. And if you did enjoy the episode, all I ask is that you tell someone about it. Tell your runner friend, or tell that runner that sneaks behind your bushes in the morning to use the facilities, shall we say. I don't encourage that at all. You should probably find a restroom when you're out for a run, or go before you leave. But hey, sometimes nature calls, and it's in the worst places. And I've seen runners, well, I'm going way too far into this. Okay, so thank you again for listening. Please tell someone about the episode. And just remember, there will be a new episode of the Ear to There podcast each and every Monday morning, as well as a new episode of the Walt Disney World Word of the Week each and every Wednesday morning. So until next time, have a great week. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.